Wait, I can't see the stream, so I don't know when the.
Oh, you're on.
Oh, we're on. Okay. Welcome to everybody to the MiniMapCast.
That's funny.
This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favorite weekly games podcast. I opened with saying I couldn't tell because I knew I needed to say something in case we were just staring at the camera.
Yeah.
Vacant, like a newscaster, like a newsreader caught out in the open. My name is Kerry Palmer. Joining me is Jeremy Braditich.
Hello. That's quite funny.
That's a very good, and it's very in line with the technical difficulties we had just moments before we started the stream.
Yes.
Which was funny. I wanted to quickly open by saying thank you to everyone who watched and listened to last week's episode of the podcast. One of our most successful episodes, one of our most ingested episodes of the podcast in recent memory. So thank you all for tuning in. It means a lot. We hope you had a good time with that one because we had a great time.
Yeah, it was a good one.
We're back, just the two of us this week. We will be looking at getting more guests on in the future because we had such a good time with that last week. But Jeremy, how's your week been?
Great. Good. I saw the new Spider-Man.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. You said last night that you were seeing, and I told you to put your phone away.
Yes. Yeah, mighty good. What a movie. What a very good movie.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of it for the most part. I play a little bit of games, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, good weekend. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was a lovely weekend. Watched some GDQ this weekend.
GDQ.
What did I say?
GDQ.
GDQ.
Yeah. Judge GDQ.
Judge GDQ. Did you know that I record like voiceover sometimes for a living? Anyway, GDQ this weekend, watched a bit of that, which I don't really watch live. But what were we watching when we figured out that it was on? Earlier this week, I was watching something.
Clone Hero was the first one that we were watching.
Yeah, so Jeremy and I watched that together this weekend. And then when we were playing Apex, there was a Celeste TAS run playing while on the second screen, and we'd die.
For those who don't know, what is a TAS run, Kerry?
A TAS is a tool-assisted speed run. Basically, someone records the most perfect optimal inputs for a speed run, which allows the game to then the tool, whatever modification or like things they've done to work with the engine that records the inputs, then basically plays these inputs. So you can have these strings of frame perfect glitches and stuff that you normally wouldn't be able to achieve as a human reliably in real time.
Yes.
And so TAS runs are frequently exceptionally glitchy and impressive and intense because they're going like the speed of light, doing things you've never seen before. And so we'd be playing like Apex, and we were all watching it on the second monitor, like separately. And then one of us would go down and we'd look and occasionally just be like, whoa, what the fuck is that? Like, you seeing this?
Yeah, and I was like, what is going on there?
And right at the very end, we watched them skip like 15 sections of the final levels.
Yeah.
In like 20 seconds. It was amazing.
It was good fun.
Yeah. There was something else I watched as well. I can't really remember, but there was a bunch of good stuff there. The Clone Hero one was really good. I really enjoyed that.
I've heard good things about the Halo 3 runs. I'll have to pick that one up.
Oh, nice.
When I go back.
Oh, and I watched a bit of the Elden Ring any% glitchless run the other day as well.
Yeah, right.
And then I decided to watch that later because I figured I could watch that on the VOD.
The other one that I really need to pick up on is there's a blindfolded Breath of the Wild run.
Yes, that was happening after that. I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded amazing. Like I think the estimate was an hour and change. So that's a decent lengthy run too. The biggest problem with any % Breath of the Wild runs is they're too bloody short. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's kind of the point, isn't it?
21 minutes. Like you just settle down, it's already over. I tend to put on like Ocarina of Time randomizer speed runs though in my downtime or if I don't have anything else to watch. So I'm used to just putting on like 5-hour VODs and chipping away at them during the week.
Right.
So yeah. So this week we don't have any big news really to talk about. there may have been something that big that happened this week, and I've completely forgotten. There was that there was that Variety article on Bobby Kotick, which was just absolute dross.
Oh my god, just absolute fucking dog shit.
Just not news at all. Just complete waste of air, paper, print, money, just all waste of everything, time. But yeah. So that means what that means for this week is we are going ahead with our forecasted topic for the show, which for this week is ranking the best PS2 games. We've gone through the games that we know that we can speak to. So this isn't quite as exhaustive as the every Mario game or every Pokemon game lists that we've done, but it is similar to those.
Yes.
The list is not quite as big, so we can maybe talk about each game a little bit longer without having to run, because there's not 60 of them, which is good. So yeah, that's going to be fun. And then after that, I'm going to talk about Diablo. Jeremy's going to talk about the new Humanity game, the puzzle game from the people who made Tetris Effect and Rez. So yeah, that's the episode. If you like what you're hearing so far in the intro, then great, stick around. There's more of this. This is the MiniMapCast. We go live on all podcast platforms every Wednesday with 24 hours of early access given to all of our wonderful patrons. More on that in just a sec. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to tell your friends. Give the show a positive rating wherever you listen to your podcasts or watch them. It makes a huge difference. And it only takes a couple of seconds. If you want to get notified every time a new episode is released, make sure to follow us on the social medias. We are at MiniMapAU on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also Twitch, where we are live every Monday night. Currently 7:30 p.m. We're trying 7:30 again. If you have any opinions on whether we should do 6:30 or 7:30 earlier or later, if you have any thoughts on that, let us know. We're trying a few things out, but if you have any opinions, let us know. Trying 7:30 for the moment, because that went well last week. So yeah, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the live recording of the MiniMapCast. You can come hang out and chat before and after, during, in the break. It's always good to chat with everyone who's here and to catch up, and everyone was yelling PS2 game names at us at the start of the show. It was good. So yeah, if you come join us 7:30 p.m. Mondays, you can be there too. We wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. And finally, MiniMap is completely independent and funded almost entirely out of our own pockets. To help keep the mics and lights on, you can support us by becoming one of our patrons. For only $5 a month, you get 24 hours of early access for every episode of the MiniMapCast, as well as access to the recordings of our post shows. So if you miss the live show for whatever reason and you want to catch the sort of casual debrief we do afterwards, which are usually still pretty high energy, I would say. We do a good job with those. You can find the recordings there. Our Sony E3 2009 watch along Patreon exclusive video is there too. That's a fun one. So yeah, you can head on over to patreon.com/minimapau to help us out. And remember, it's cheaper than a latte with oat milk. So it's time to rank the best PS2 games. Now we came up with this list with a variety of through a variety of means. One, off the top of the head. Two, Metacritic, scrolling through, seeing the ones that we cared about. So what that means is not all of these are ones that we both care. Like some of these are ones that Jeremy cares the most about. Some of these are ones that I care the most about. Some of them are ones that we both care about. But Jeremy made the good point that this is more about the best games rather than favorite games. So
yeah, we are ranking them head to head. So it's not about like the game that I love that is actually not very good. It's about like competing.
Yes, exactly. Scores.
If you want to call it that.
It's about results,
yeah.
Trophies.
Yeah.
Which is why you'll notice that there is no Aragon the movie, the game in this bracket tonight. I'm sorry. It is breaking my heart every time I think about it. I'm trying to block it out.
Yeah.
But what that does mean is we have a rockin' list here to deal with. We got Ratchets, we got Battlefronts, we've got Guitar Heroes, we've got Colossuses, we got so much
Colossi, Kerry.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah.
So
should we kick off?
I think we should.
Right.
I'm realizing now there's one in here I left that maybe I shouldn't have, but that will be funny because it's in the first knockout round anyway, so that's fine.
All right. Let's start off. So the first match we have is Final Fantasy X versus Guitar Hero 2.
Oh fuck, this hurts.
Now I've not.
Oh my god,
I've actually
I'm not ready for this.
I've actually not played Guitar Hero 2.
Oh, Jeremy, it's got an amazing set list.
Also,
absolutely cracking set list.
The thing about Guitar Hero games is that I can get a pretty good idea of how they are just by looking at the set list, because if you've played any Guitar Hero, you've got a good idea of what they're going to be like. Guitar Hero Live aside, I think.
Yeah.
Where like I can just look up the set list for Guitar Hero 2.
The thing with the early Guitar Hero games is that you were still getting mechanical, like literally mechanics of the key of the controller, plus mechanical in terms of how the engine works, like mechanical ideation and iteration in those early games. So like Guitar Hero 2 was good for being distinctively better than Guitar Hero 1, like getting rid of some decisions that like were real, like first of its kind of growing pains. But it also wasn't as smooth as a gameplay experience as Guitar Hero 3.
Sure, right, okay. Like just to briefly touch on the set list. So some of the big hitters: "Carry On My Wayward Son," "Free Bird," "Hush" by Deep Purple is on there. "Killing in the Name" by Rage Against the Machine is on there. "Message in a Bottle" by The Police.
Yeah, Cherry Pie's a good one.
Yeah, Cherry Pie. "Search and Destroy" by Iggy Pop.
It's got
"Surrender" by Cheap Trick. "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses.
It's got the Trogdor song from Strong Bad.
It's got "Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight" by Spinal Tap, which
it does.
I did not know Spinal Tap made an appearance on a Guitar Hero game. That
Jeremy, I think we spoke about this, right? That is why I thought Spinal Tap was a real band.
It's so fucking funny. I love that
because they were just in there with the rest of them.
How wonderful! I'm so glad that their joke that they pulled in the like 80s or whenever that movie came out continues to bear fruit. I love that so much.
Yes. Do you know the Trogdor song from Strong Bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they put just a silly cartoon song
from
like Flash animation internet.
Yes.
In their game, which is great. It's real hard too.
All right. So tell me about Final Fantasy X. Because I've also not played this.
Final Fantasy X is the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I first saw it when my brother and my cousin stayed up all night playing it downstairs, and I came, and the whole thing was like, oh, the new one's come out, let's play it together, that'll be fun. And they played it all night, and I came downstairs in the morning and saw them like 9 hours in. And I remember they were struggling against this boss, and they were like, maybe I'll check something, I'll see if we can like upgrade our equipment. And they were like, what's this sphere grid thing? And it turns out they hadn't leveled up in the game once in the last 8 hours.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Which you can get away with up until basically the boss they were at. And they were like, okay, we're getting messed up here. And then they just spent like 30 minutes like upgrading health and strength and magic and MP and everything for every character.
Right.
Final Fantasy X, it's funny because it doesn't strike a lot of the notes that the diehards love because it does a lot of things differently. This is one of the only Final Fantasy games that doesn't have any sort of active time battle system. So there's no like timer that you have to wait to count up before you can move. It's more like a Pokemon game where it's all move based. It's just you could take as long as you want, get the strategy right, make your move, and then the enemy will attack in turn.
Okay.
But the story, the music, the art direction and design, just the whole design of the game, it's incredibly striking in a way that really captured my imagination and like fandom, I guess, as a young kid. This game, it is unlike any other Final Fantasy game.
Okay. Is it better than Guitar Hero 2?
I think it is.
Okay.
Because Guitar Hero 2, again, it has those like growing pains of like still not quite refined yet. And it still looked that like Guitar Hero on PlayStation 2 looks ugly, man. It looks so ugly.
Okay.
It's my first Guitar Hero and I love it to pieces, but yeah, I think Final Fantasy X is better.
All right. I'm willing just to default to you on this one because I've not played either of these games.
I'm sure we'll talk about 10 more as it reaches into the next round.
All right. The next round being Crash Twin Sanity. Well, the next match, rather. Crash Twin Sanity versus God of War 2. These are also 2 games that I've not played.
All right. So 2D saying in the chat, Twin Sanity? And this is the one I mentioned as like, oh, maybe this shouldn't have made it. But like this is a game that I love. This is a game that this is a favorite that isn't a best. This is does that
mean by default God of War 2 wins?
God of War 2 is an excellent game. Like even still is the thing. Like God of War 2 wins. However, I will give Twin Sanity its moment. It has a lot of excellent puzzles, a lot of fun moments, and a good like integrated like world design where you kind of come back around and things are different and you've got different abilities and playing with Cortex the whole time. And I don't know. It's just a fun ass game. It's good.
All right. But God of War 2 is the winner?
God of War 2 is the winner.
All right. So that's the first round done because it's an odd number of matchups. So we're into round 2 already, where Shadow of the Colossus gets to go up against Final Fantasy X.
Tell me about Shadow of the Colossus, Jeremy, and maybe not too much in case it wins and we have to talk about it over and over.
Yeah, look, I think that this is kind of a platform defining game. And it's like, look, there's a reason that Blue Point got to make a remake as good as they did. It's because it's got this unique platform transcending ability to be one of the most unique and incredible experiences PlayStation has probably ever had to offer. One of, not the, but one of. I can keep talking about it if you would like.
So you say, I will say a counterpoint. I think at this moment, Shadow of the Colossus is coming up against one of the other platform-defining games of that generation.
Look, it is one of maybe the platform-defining RPGs of the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't often hear it in that conversation of like one of the PlayStation greats. I think that maybe Shadow of the Colossus that like does actually get like it is a game that will endure in a way that I think.
That's true. Like we kind of talking about Shadow of the Colossus was kind of the first time I remember of people talking about it in the same way that people talk about Dark Souls.
Yeah, like we got taught about Shadow of the Colossus in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point because Final Fantasy X is popular and it's really well. It's sold well and it's really well made. But yeah, the artistic integrity and sort of importance of the game and its impact on the medium, I think is quite impressive. And it's lasting and it's sort of undeniable. It's a good point. I personally I can't stay with Shadow of the Colossus when I play it. It doesn't stick with me.
It's interesting. I often think about Shadow of the Colossus about a game that is it's not about fun. I think is the thing that's interesting. And I kind of watch it. I kind of play it like I will. It occupies the same part of my mind that like I think Western movies do. Where it's like they have these long drawn out sections where you're just kind of in this world, like specifically like the Morricone westerns, but like this idea that you are like going for long stretches of time where there's no dialogue, there's no talking, there's not a lot of music. You're just kind of like exploring this world, and then suddenly, like you are in the middle of action. And it's like, watching Westerns, like depends on the Western, but like a lot of those ones, they're not fun movies that are like, oh, like I'm actively participating in this
entertained.
film. Yeah, like, but they still have this level of, they give you those lower lows to make those highs like inconceivably high.
Right. It's an honest experience.
Yeah, like you get that whole game when you play that game.
Yeah, it's funny. I think both of their soundtracks go toe to toe. I think Final Fantasy X soundtrack is outstanding.
Right.
And so is Shadow of the Colossus. I'm not as familiar with it, but every time I hear it, I'm like, oh wow, why don't I listen to this more?
Yeah, like I got that on vinyl like years ago.
Well, you get lots of music on vinyl.
Yes, but like Shadow of the Colossus has the soundtrack released 15 years later on vinyl.
Yeah, right. True. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a Final Fantasy X vinyl.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
Just gonna drop a quick 70 USD on in the middle of the podcast.
Exclusive limited edition. $300. All right, never mind.
I don't think I'm not going to like put my foot down through the entire tournament of Shadow of the Colossus.
No,
but I think I might.
I don't think you need to put it down here. I think I'm with you. I do think it is Shadow.
Yeah.
Like just the quality of the game rings through here.
All right. We'll
Final Fantasy X.
We'll have more to say. Ratchet and Clank 3 versus Lego Star Wars 1 and 2.
Oh fuck, man! I'm not prepared for this.
I can't believe you put Lego Star Wars in here. I think that's hilarious.
Why?
Because I think those games are good. I don't think of them as like all-timer PlayStation games, but I'm willing to hear I'm willing for you to make that case.
I think they're all-timers of the generation. I mean, at least.
And this is someone who is
for me to say because I was 11 or 12 years old when they came out, right?
Well, so was I, and I like these were some of the games that I 100%ed. Like I went through the whole thing like multiple times.
I think both of these games, in a way, are some of the most repeatable games that on this system and of this generation. Like I would happily dive into Lego Star Wars and chip away at it, go back through and find the mini kits and try and get the stud meter and all of that.
They did build the Lego formula unlike anything that they had done before. Like this was the formula that up until the most recent Lego game being like the Lego Star Wars game, mainline Lego game. That was what they did for 15 years. Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know. It's an excellent way to experience the story. I do think the storytelling doesn't necessarily hold up these days. The way they told it back then, like it was decent, but when you look back at it now, it's like, oh, this is basic.
Yeah, it is. A bit old fashioned. Like there's a lot of miming, and that's fun and funny. It's still funny. But like
a lot of like,
but like technically the game is a little bit older feeling now. It's got some age on it.
Yeah,
those Lego men, they're a bit wrinkly now.
Or they're too smooth. I can't decide which. But yeah, that said, like I think it's some of the most best paced gameplay. Maybe not consistently. There are some dud like puzzles in there, but like, you know, I remember losing entire afternoons to that game and, you know, just going in and doing a whole movie or two, you know what I mean? And coming back out. And there was plenty more to do, but I'd also done plenty. I'd unlocked plenty more to do, but I could keep moving if I wanted to. There's such a good sense of freedom in those games.
Mm-hmm.
But
Ratchet and Clank 3,
it's
kind of an old timer.
It's borderline the best Ratchet and Clank, honestly.
It is like, if it is not, it is second.
Yeah.
And it is not against any particular second. It's just up there.
It's so good. The weapons are amazing. The way they upgrade is incredible. All of the locations are great. The jokes are on point. The animations are funny. Like
the jokes are still hilarious. I still crack some of those jokes and they are still fucking funny.
And also like it's one of the most colorful games on the system without it seeming like an absolute cartoon, sort of like surreal, not to be taken seriously kind of thing. Like you could buy in, but also it's just a vibrant world. That's so fun, especially considering the age and the era we went into after games like this, where we lost so much color.
Yes, exactly. I also think that you could throw. Okay, so here's the thing. I think you could put Ratchet and Clank 3 on a PS5 right now, and you would have a great time.
Agreed.
I don't know if you would have as great a time in those older Lego games.
So I've been playing these older Lego games over the years. The Complete Saga they came out with, which was like 1 and 2 put together.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing that on PC, and it's just those same levels.
Yeah. There's like one difference in there, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and like it is mostly fine. Again, there are some dud levels where it's like, oh shit, this is just like the camera doesn't give you enough room here to split apart in co-op and stuff like that. But like, it is still fun.
Yeah, it is still fun, but I don't think it's Ratchet and Clank 3 in 2023 fun, right? Like you think about Rift Apart, right? That game, like, there's a direct line between those two games, and realistically, there's not much in between Ratchet and Clank 3 and Rift Apart that couldn't have realistically been done on either of those consoles. You know, like there's the swapping between dimensions is like obviously a technical feat, but there's a way to work that is loading screens. That could have been a PS3. So that could have been a PS2 game. But you know, they have innovated and built upon the original Lego Star Wars in a way that, like, you know, like, and the original foundation for those games are great, but like we've come further in that department. Whereas Ratchet and Clank 3, they kind of nailed it, and they've just sort of made more of them.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's also important to remember just how good Ratchet and Clank 2 was in a distinctly different way.
Yep.
As well. Maybe a few rougher edges. Like I think some of the levels were a bit less refined.
Yeah. Like 2 is good. It's got like
also like they had a similar thing of like just the way you leveled up the weapons was so satisfying. And the story was great. One of the best stories in the Ratchet series was in Ratchet 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah,
they're both fucking incredible games.
Yeah, we're gonna be here.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be hard. This is just gonna keep being difficult to go through this list. It is Ratchet and Clank 3.
Yeah,
but it is close.
It is close. It's close in my heart.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero 3 versus Jack 3.
Oh no, I know how this is going. Let me just sing Jack 3's praises quickly before we never see it again.
Please.
Jack 3 is the most enjoyable Jack and Daxter game. Because it has I spoke about this at length last year when the subscription service came out, and I played through all of them, except I didn't finish one because I got bored. But Jack is such a game that is in the middle of an identity crisis at all times.
Yeah. From the first one included.
Including the first one, exactly, because the first one's like it's borderline just a Spyro game, but like it's not, but it is. And then Grand Theft Auto came out and it was so incredible and they ripped it off. But like it wasn't quite as good because it was still like a kid's Grand Theft Auto game. So then they made it bigger and better and more impressive. Like 3 is like the best combination of all of its random bits and pieces. But man, is it random. It's so strange the way it comes together. It is nonsensical the way Jack 3 comes together. It is a decent game. It is a decent story for those who have that reverence for it. It is not misplaced. There is something there to genuinely enjoy and appreciate. But it is not that amount of refined that we expect from a Naughty Dog game. I think in the way that it is just directed from a pure like creative understanding level.
Sure. Yeah.
It is not cohesive.
Yeah, it's always been confused. I think, like, and as someone who does not like Jack 2 or 3 and only likes Jack and Daxter, it's always been confused. I don't think that, I've seen people online going like, oh, when's Naughty Dog going to go back to Jak and Daxter? Like, I don't think they will. And I honestly, like, I don't think Jak and Daxter ever became a franchise that requires a revisit. And like if they want to do something like that again, like I would actually just much prefer a new IP. Give me a new duo of characters to love. The designs are all right in Jak and Daxter, but they're a bit like we can do better. Like there's some more interesting things we can do in this space.
They're dated, honestly. Like Jak's design is pretty dated.
Yeah,
and Daxter's personality is he's such a chauvinist. Like there's so many guy look at boobs or butt moments in those games,
and he's also just
even in the first ones.
He's just annoying and grating. Like he's not enjoyable to be around.
He makes me laugh sometimes, but then other times I'm like, ew, I was playing this when I was 10. Ew.
Yeah. All right, we'll put it to Guitar Hero 3 for now.
It is definitely to Guitar Hero 3.
All right. Gran Turismo 3 versus Star Wars Battlefront 2.
This is tricky. I have some experience with GT3, but not much. It's one of the 2 games that we got when we got our PS2. But
yes. So same with mine. I think Gran Turismo 3 is an absolutely incredible racer. I think that it is at its peak, it was like, this is as good as racing can be. This is as good as the Gran Turismo franchise can be. It's difficult because if you don't click with Gran Turismo, you are just not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And Gran Turismo is a particular type of racing game where they are more into the simulator, they are more into the professional racing in terms of it being a sport. They're into the brands, they're into the history, they're into the cars,
and the tracks
and the love of motorsport. And I think that in a weird way, Battlefront 2, I think I have Battlefront 2 in my mind. It sort of shares the same space as going back to like kind of Team Fortress 2 and goes back to like playing the first Modern Warfare, where it's like there's a specific, like it is a familiar shooter.
Yep. It
doesn't age particularly gracefully because it, like, the older it gets, the clunkier it feels. GoldenEye's in the same camp for this, but
100%.
But you go back to this because you understand it.
And also it's important to remember what it was at the time, which was like Battlefront 2 was incredible. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time you played it, I played that game by myself for dozens of hours. You know what I mean? A multiplayer game.
Yeah. I don't know what to do.
I personally, because I could see the quality in Gran Turismo 3. Like even when I played it and didn't enjoy it that much, it was a great loop of like, here's your licenses and here's the different cars that unlocks for you and the different tracks. Like even I got a bit out of that loop when I was bad at it.
It's teaching you how to play Gran Turismo.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what these games have to do.
Yeah. They need to do that because otherwise you won't know how to do it.
Yeah. But at the same time, Battlefront 2, Sam says in the chat, put them both through and cancel the next two. That's very funny. Like Battlefront 2 had prequel and original trilogy settings and classes, characters, heroes,
villains,
starfights, villains. You had blaster heroes. You had lightsaber heroes. It's an all-star, like, just home run hit.
I'm willing to give it to Battlefront, because I think it is a seminal Star Wars game. Which, if there's anything we've learned in the past 15 years, that's apparently really difficult to do.
That's a good point.
So I'll give it to Battlefront. I love Gran Turismo 3. I'll give it to Battlefront.
Yeah, I recognize Gran Turismo 3's quality.
Kingdom Hearts 2, God of War 2.
Woo! That's spicy.
That is spicy.
So, Jeremy, you haven't played God of War 2, really?
I've not played God of War 2. I don't particularly want to play. I've never.
Have you ever played them?
Like I have
any 1, 2, or 3?
Yes, but not on my own. Like I've played them at friends.
Right.
I know what the combat feels like, and
okay,
good. That stuff is good. I have a weird I have a weird feeling about God of War. I sort of always I always had, but like there's
Expound.
It always felt kind of like. And like I know it is, but even when I was like younger, I always felt it was kind of like bro-y.
Like try hard. Like
yeah, it was like it always felt a bit like edgy, but like in a way that I'm like, ew, gross. Whereas like GTA is edgy, but it's like, you know, ridiculous and bombastic edgy. Whereas this was like, oh, we're gonna be like
crass.
Yeah, like we're gonna be men.
Yeah. We're
going to be edgy and it's not going to be for girls. This is a boys only club, edgy.
I really vibed with God of War. I was far too young when I was experiencing God of War because my brother got it. And then we like played it together. And I really vibed with it from like the fantasy aspect. Like, oh, man with fire blades and they're stuck to chains and the chains go on his wrists. Like, that was so cool. And he gets the Blade of Artemis, which is just this big sword. It's like, oh, that's sick. Like all of that shit I just loved. The mythology as well.
The idea that in God of War 1, 2, and 3, your entire goal is to kill every god on Olympus is like a pretty cool, like that's a cool pitch for a series.
That's not the goal of the first one, but yes.
Right. But it happens.
In the third one, yes.
Right.
The first one's about killing the God of War.
Right.
Which Kratos isn't, but then he does, and then he becomes, and then.
Gotcha.
The story's decent to follow along with. Like it's actually like good storytelling for the time. Like the cutscenes are good, and there's decent mystery there. But you are right. At some point, it's like, how can we justify this gory animation of him ripping like Medusa's head off again, or like, oh, we made a boss. How can we kill it? The gruesomeliest. Like 3 kind of got tired for me. Like I played it and I got to the end and I was like, the ending's not very satisfying because it's just like everyone dies and everything is dead and it is just ash and it's literally the ending and it's like it's all over. And that was not satisfying.
Yeah.
But they are some excellent games. I have played 4 or 5 hours of Kingdom Hearts 2. It is well known, well documented on this very show that my modern attempts to catch up to and participate in the Kingdom Hearts series have been tempered by frustration and unenjoyment. So,
yes.
Jeremy, why don't you tell me about Kingdom Hearts 2?
I think there's a and this is both a meme and also true. I think that there's a reason this game continues to get re-releases. And it's because it also and it does because it doesn't. They are not re-releasing this game so new people start this franchise.
No, they're doing it because they know they've got all of those people from 2004 on the hook.
Yes, and that the reason for that is because there is something about that franchise that if it gets you, you are smitten.
Yes, that's true.
For years and years, and you truly will not ever be able to break away. The amount of people that played Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 and then did not play any of the side stuff and then picked up 3 15 years later, I think is a testament to 2. Because when it hits, fewer games hit harder. When it fully manages to win you over, and you understand, you understand the friendship is magic, you buy into, you know, the anime of the various bad guy organizations and versions of the same people. And like I've said this before, but the overt queer allegories and metaphors throughout the franchise, regardless of what the director of the franchise thinks.
I don't think you can call it overt if someone is going actively against it and said, I never made
Well,
that.
no, like he's not actively against it. And realistically, with the amount of stuff that's in this game, I'm not even sure that he knows what he thinks about Kingdom Hearts' sexuality. like in terms of like Sora and Riku are in love, and the game will never not be able to break away from that, and they play into that so often. That they are one cutscene away from giving each other a friend kiss on the lips between the two. On the beach.
So where does that leave us?
Because
that did nothing for me.
I want to put my foot down for Kingdom Hearts 2, but I will not like carry it all the way to the end of.
See, that's the thing. Yeah. I don't think Kingdom Hearts 2 is better than God of War 2, but I don't want to put my foot down for God of War 2. It is not perfect. Yeah. It is not flawless. It is not recommendable to literally everybody. It is not a go-to classic. I would point people towards the reboots before I pointed them towards 2 or 3.
And like I would point people towards 2 as the Kingdom Hearts. Like if you're going to play a Kingdom Hearts game, it would be that one.
It's the only good one.
No, but like it's definitely the one to play. You know, like, again, not a perfect game, but I would probably still give it like a 9.8.
And it is one of the defining games on the PS2.
Yeah, like, look, Sora's in Smash. My boy, my boy made it.
Yeah, well, Kratos is in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, so...
we can share the love on that game if you want. I know you don't want to go there.
Yeah, let's give it to Kingdom Hearts 2. Right. If it goes up against one of my babies, though, I'm snapping its neck so fast.
I love it, and I'll continue to make the case, but I'm not gonna force it all the way to the end. Yeah. Ratchet and Clank 2 versus Snake Eater.
Ratchet and Clank 2 versus Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
I think it's Snake Eater.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know because honestly, like the Metal Gear Solid games, like they play okay, but you know, Tooty's in the chat saying that in Ratchet and Clank 2 there's a lot of jank. I never played a Metal Gear Solid game and felt like it didn't have too much jank, especially the PS2 ones. Snake Eater is better than Sons of Liberty, hands down, and I think it's the next best before 5 came out. I think it's the next best game after 1.
See, but I think it's better than 5.
Wow.
Look, here's the thing. Like, I finished 3 and I didn't finish 5 because 5 is Kojima didn't finish 5. No one finished 5. That game is unfinished. Zing. No, but like I think like Snake Eater is like it's got. I don't know if jank is the right word. I think it's got specificity. It's a very specific game with its controls, with its movement, and that feels...
And its mechanics.
And that feels not intuitive when comparing it to other games. But I think for itself, I think it is quite strong in all of those regards. Mm-hmm. I've never thought about it in this way, but I would, like, if I were to review Snake Eater, I might actually give it a 10.
What?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's, like, I think it's at most an 8 for me. Like, it's the best one, but I find it has so many points of friction for me.
Right.
that I struggle. And this is an now close to 8-year recollection, right? I played this in 2015.
Yeah, like
But-
I played this game in 2018, I think, when I played it on the PS3.
It's good.
Like, for my money, Hitman aside, I think is the two different type of games. I think Snake Eater is the best stealth game I've ever played.
I don't agree with that. I would jump into Last of Us Part 2 before I jump into Snake Eater for best stealth gameplay.
I don't even think that's a stealth game. Like, you stealth in that game, but that's not a stealth game.
There's so much stealth in that game.
I mean, the way you play it.
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank 2, like I said before, like it is still a really strong game. It does have a number of moments of like, it isn't as vibrant as 3. You know what I mean? It like,
yeah,
lots of part of it's blend into themselves, like different facilities, and like the direction and the vision of this one isn't quite as strong as 3.
And there's a lot of like the ship battles weren't very fun. The Clank battles weren't very fun, and like the story like is good, but it's a bit like, you know, I'm so cool kind of all the way. And like I know that puts it on its head, but there's a lot of like there's one thing going for Ratchet and Clank 2, and that is like Ratchet being like a spy kind of esque thing.
True.
Like an agent, I guess. And
there's another thing going for it as well, in that it is so many heads and shoulders above the first game in quality and enjoyment.
Totally.
Which is huge. Like it is so much better than the first one.
But it's not better than 3.
No, it's not.
And like it's
just, you're right. You're right. It's not better than Snake Eater.
Snake Eater's got a ladder. All right. Katamari Damacy versus Ratchet Gladiator.
Oh no.
I don't think Gladiator's very good.
No, I know you don't. That's why I said, oh no. Gladiator's one of my favorites. I do think it's very specific. It is not the same level of enjoyment that you would get out of 3.
Yeah.
Or 2. It also feels like quick and rushed, and also not quite like a Ratchet game, but I love it so much. And I do think it has a place in Ratchet history that is not irrelevant.
No, I also think it doesn't hold up that well when you go back to it.
Doesn't it?
No,
I haven't played it in a long while.
It feels funny. There's a lot of things that like it's like missing a level of polish that all the others kind of had, where like between explosions or between the actual combat and the gun feel of all the different weapons, and like even just the personality of the weapons, and you don't have Clank, and it's all missions. It's the Jack 3 of the franchise, where it's kind of it's got its own identity crisis that it is unfortunately dealing with, and it pulls it together in the end to make a decent game, but it doesn't really, like, you know, they never made another one. Like it doesn't.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Tell me about Katamari.
You want the single most enjoyable game to have ever existed. You want a game that is about having fun. You got a game.
Yeah, I like that.
You got a game here called Katamari Damacy.
Uh-huh.
It is about rolling up objects to create planets for the king of all cosmos.
Uh-huh.
And you are there in whimsical environments, listening to wonderful music.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling up objects to your heart's content, and you're doing it again, and it is fun every single time. There's enough levels, you get every single, like it is maybe a perfect game in the same way that Tetris is like a perfect game, where it's like it put together a thing and it executed it perfectly. And and that's it. There's no more than that. You got it.
Yep.
They did
just have the raw concept executed and
fun
on display. Yeah.
Happy. Joy.
And
the music, you know the music, Kerry. We've listened to the music.
I do know the music. And I also know the knockoff game, The End of the World, I think, that released on like the very early days of Steam.
I've not even heard of that.
I've brought it up at some point.
Okay.
It was that, you know, do you remember that game called like and it was like that like base jumping game? It was those same people.
Yeah, right.
And they basically just made a Katamari ripoff.
Fair enough.
Let me scroll down. I want to get this name right. I'm pretty sure it's called The End of the World.
Are we giving it to Katamari?
Yes, Jeremy, obviously. Maybe not, but yes.
Oh,
breaks my heart.
Silent Hill 2 versus Burnout 3.
Silent Hill 2 versus Burnout 3. I haven't played Silent Hill.
I do love Burnout 3.
Burnout 3 is so good.
It's fucking good.
Burnout 3 is a unique type of joy that we just don't get anymore. Like we got Revenge afterwards, we got Paradise in the next generation, which was like 75% of the same feeling. But man, it's so good though.
When it hit, it's like
singular.
When it works, it's like heroin in the arm. It just is incredible rush of like just the best feeling imaginable.
Yeah, like the takedowns are incredible. Taking down the your enemies on the track, so you get way more boost. You upgrade your boost meter. All of a sudden, you're going 400 kilometers per hour. The music rules. The style of the menu is great. It's very dated, but it is very cohesive. Getting all the different medals for the different tracks, the crash mode, the introduction of the crash mode, and it is good. It's good crash. All of the destruction you can wreak and trying to bounce the explosions between each other and rack up your number of points, your dollars.
It's like I frequently think about going back to that game, and I don't because it's just too far away.
Yeah.
But like the moment they make another Burnout game, I don't know why they haven't. I don't know why they haven't even considered teasing it. Right?
Isn't it so strange?
And it's it's the skate problem, right? It's like if they get it wrong, like people are gonna like that franchise goes on ice for 15 years.
Yeah.
Right, if they get it wrong, and I don't trust EA to get it right like that. Like I need like
the franchise has been on ice. We got Burnout Paradise remastered 4 years ago or whatever, and like that's it.
And like everything we heard about that game is that remaster sold really well.
Yeah. Oh, I do miss it. For me, it's a solid no-brainer. Burnout 3. I have no exposure to Silent Hill 2. Honestly, I know people love it, but
it's so close for me. They are so neck and neck. I genuinely don't know which way I would lean. So, like Silent Hill 2, the vibes are immaculate in the sense that they are so fucking off throughout the entire thing in a way that is actually really hard to capture. Pyramid Head, obviously, like transcendental villain. Just like, you know, a villain so good that the people that make Silent Hill now don't understand how they can't not put him in.
Yeah.
You know, like a villain so good that generations of people trying to make horror games after Silent Hill 2 that didn't understand Pyramid Head have tried to recapture that and failed dramatically because he is such a strong looking villain. There's a fundamental horror to Pyramid Head, which is pretty incredible. Just a big guy with a fucked sword wearing like a butcher's apron with a giant pyramid head. That is so scary.
And he's dirty.
Yeah, he's filthy.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 is really incredible. It's not perfect, but it is really incredible. It is obtuse in the way that all those Silent Hill games are. And that is sometimes annoying, but when it works, it is really great. I have a very fond memory of the very first time when I played through that game. The very first time I saw Pyramid Head, was I was in this room and we were like doing this puzzle, and I moved like a bookcase or like a grandfather clock out of the way or whatever, and there was just bars in the wall leading into the next room which you couldn't get through. And then I left the room and did something else and came back into the room, and Pyramid Head was just on the other side of those bars looking at me. And there was no cutscene, there was no fanfare. It was just he was just on the other side of those bars. And this is a PS2 game, like, and I was playing it 3 years ago, and it terrified me.
Yeah.
Like, that fucker was just on the other side of those bars, and I left the room and I went back in and he wasn't there anymore.
He was gone.
Yeah. And
classic.
They didn't like the fucking like the boldness to do that, to not give me a cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If you wanted to go Burnout, then I'm happy to just leave it at Burnout. I've said my.
I mean, that is definitely my pitch. Like Silent Hill 2 is, it's sort of like Kingdom Hearts if like only 10% of the people played it. You know what I mean? Like for the people it hits with, it really hits. But outside of that, I feel like it hardly makes a splash. You know what I mean?
I feel like Silent Hill is easier to make a splash because you can just play one. Like, it's not like it's not complex. It's not. I don't understand.
No, I
what's
know,
going
but
on.
I mean, in terms of its impact on the industry and what people think about it long term, like I just have no exposure to it. Does that make sense?
No, but I think but like that's because I think Silent Hill.
I just don't hear people talking about it, I guess is what I mean.
Oh, but only because it's been so long now that it's kind of like people talking about, Alien 1. Like, sort of everything that can be said about that game has sort of been said.
Right.
Like, it is already, like, it has inspired so many things after it that, like, we've sort of finished the conversation about this game.
Right.
Like, it is
a bow on it.
Yeah, and I can't wait for all the terrible discussion to start up again when they fucking bring out the remake for this game. It's going to be fucking a nightmare.
I would say Burnout 3.
Right, I'll give it a Burnout only because we both have an agreement that game is excellent. Shadow of the Colossus. So we're in round 3 now. Shadow of the Colossus versus Ratchet and Clank 3.
Fucking god damn it.
Poor.
They
both got PS3 remakes.
They did, Jeremy, but they didn't both get PS4 remakes.
They didn't both get PS4 remakes.
I don't necessarily think that's a mark of anything.
No, like not in the way that it did.
Oh man. Ratchet and Clank 3 is obviously my favorite here, because with our discussion before, I said how Shadow doesn't really stick with me. I also think Ratchet and Clank has that replay factor that Shadow doesn't necessarily. Like, I know you can replay Shadow and it is still fun and decent, but like I could happily just play Ratchet and Clank 3 for like I finished that game on one save file 8 times. Just because it was fun, It was just good doing that. Like, I'd leveled everything up by that point, but it was just fun. There was also one golden bolt I couldn't find for months, and I eventually found it. It was in one of the Quark mini games.
Yeah, right. It's difficult because both of these are so important to my childhood. Both of these games, like, I played both of these games over and over and over again.
And they're so important to the PlayStation as well.
Yes. I think...
You know what Shadow of the Colossus didn't have was a Fruit Roll-Ups commercial.
You know what Shadow of the Colossus does have?
Tell me.
Like, no real flaws. No part that's like, this could have been cut. There are some colossi that are better than others.
There are decisions that I might have made differently for that game.
Like
Like, maybe it could have been more of a game kind of thing to collect some of the stuff around the world instead of it just being random lizards. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, random lizards?
Like, I feel like they're not even highlighted as like things that you can interact with, and like I only know that you can because people are like, did you even know that you could? And like, those are the kind of, I don't know, for me playing a game, it's the kind of like I would prefer to have those things in my arsenal for what I was doing going forward than completely miss them because it's like it's that seems like a foundational mechanic they hid behind nothing.
Oh, it's not foundational. You can do it without it.
Yeah.
Like it's like it makes the game easier, but there's like the first time I played that game, I didn't know it was there, and I didn't really have that much trouble.
Yeah.
I think as someone who has an uncompromising is a better word here. Love of both of these games. I still think it's Shadow.
Okay.
And again, only because like if you think about the legacy of Ueda,
yes.
like that man like released this game and then didn't release another one for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Skipped a console and kind of like not like didn't like come out on top, but like came out to a level of like fucking like this sure is a lot like that previous one that everybody fucking loves.
Yeah.
That I think is not it means something for Shadow of the Colossus to feel like a game that is again more of a fundamental PlayStation game than maybe Ratchet and Clank 3 is.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Like only in terms of like
I remember playing Rift Apart and thinking back to Ratchet 3 and going, oh, this still doesn't quite feel like Ratchet 3. You know, like they've got a magic sauce with 3 that I don't think the series has captured again since.
Totally, but I think if you were to look at like, and this is like not a great example of distilling it, but if you were to look at a hype reel of PlayStation games, it's not a guarantee that it's going to be Ratchet and Clank 3 on there. It'll be 1, 2, or 3. Because all 3 of them are really excellent. It's not like that 3 is the one that
I would disagree. I think it strongly should be 3.
Yeah, but if it was 2, you wouldn't be like, why the fuck isn't that 3? If it was 1, you wouldn't even go, why the fuck isn't that 3?
Well, sure, but if there was a Shadow of the Colossus 2, we'd probably be having the same argument.
But there isn't, because they perfected it. They did
That's
it.
not why.
No, I know. But it's not Ico instead of Shadow of the Colossus.
No, that's because Shadow of the Colossus is better than Ico.
Yes, but also it kind of is. It's
also different.
It's either Shadow of the Colossus or it's either Shadow of the Colossus and not Ico, or it's Shadow of the Colossus and Ico. It's one or it's the second one or both of them ever.
Yes.
This isn't a good way to argue these games.
Yes, I don't think this really proves anything.
No, not really. I think it's Shadow. And you know how much I love 3. Like, you know how much. Like,
I do.
I've gone through and watched directors' commentaries of that whole game because they're all on YouTube and it's wonderful and I recommend it.
I need to do that.
3 doesn't have grinding.
That's all right.
I know, but like that's kind of a Ratchet and Clank thing.
That's okay.
I know, but
like we'll be all right.
Yeah, we were all right. It's a wonderful fucking game. There's a bit in there that's like, okay, this could have been cut. The hacker I don't love, like Tootie in the chat.
I love the hacker in 3.
I don't know, it's fine. The Clank only missions, they're not great.
Yeah, they're all right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not super sold, but that's all right.
Oh, Guitar Hero 3 versus Battlefront 2.
Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Well, everyone just remember that when I played Guitar Hero 3, it was on Wii. So the graphics were probably only just as good as PS2, maybe slightly better.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Guitar Hero 3 versus Star Wars Battlefront 2. I think Guitar Hero 3 is more fun today than Battlefront 2 would be.
I agree with that.
I think Guitar Hero 3 could be enjoyed by more people than Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm. I also agree.
I may have played Guitar Hero 3 more than I played Star Wars Battlefront 2.
That is definitely true for me. I think that Battlefront 2 is a more impressive sequel than Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah, 3 is it's like Ratchet, right? It's the next one.
Yeah, it's very iterative, and like they
even more so than Ratchet.
They nearly always get better as well. The track list in 3 is stellar. The campaign is great. Like the story is really fucking cool.
That's all right.
Oh, but
it's a Guitar Hero story.
But it's probably the best Guitar Hero story, isn't it?
It's just you go to increasingly strange places and then you fight the devil. Like,
yeah, but like he's your manager for the entire game. Like that's funny. That's like a good little like, oh, nice.
I couldn't have told you that. Like that does not stick in my head at all.
Oh,
like,
that's like
the campaign is a complete artifice to just playing the set list. I was not there for the campaign.
But that was the whole point, was that the reason you're getting all these incredible gigs is because you literally did a deal with the devil, and then you play the song "The Devil Went Down to Georgia," which is about a violinist doing a deal with the devil. That's great.
It's okay.
Look, it's great for these games, right?
It's fine. Like it's not a knock against it, but it does not tickle it does not stick on my brain. I don't remember that.
Oh. It's so funny. It's like it's really funny. Does Battlefront 2 have a story, like a campaign? Because I know there was campaign modes, but does it have like a story?
Not really. The campaign mode it has is like it's a like a Republic campaign, like it's like a military campaign rather than like the story, where it's like, oh, we then went to the Battle of, it's like iconic battles or something like that.
It's like an Age of Empires campaign, but like over matches.
Yeah, and like they show you like grayed out flashbacks of like, then we had to go to Kashyyyk to do the thing, and then you fight the battle of Kashyyyk.
The next time they make a Battlefront, which like of course they're surely gonna make another one.
Maybe.
They should do it in the style of Clone Wars, where like the campaign that you play is a bit bespoke, put together, but it's done like a Clone Wars episode, where in between like levels you've got like, and now our heroes head over to the Battle of Geonosis, like, and they have old mate doing the thing. They've got like that would be really fun if they put it together like that. Yeah, you can have that one.
Yeah, you can have this one.
What's the answer here?
Fuck, I think it's Guitar Hero 3, which kind of blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sit right, but I think it is right.
I think I agree.
Yeah. Battlefront 2 was so incredible for the time, but yeah, I don't think it holds up in the way that Guitar Hero 3 does.
Kingdom Hearts 2 versus Snake Eater.
Two games that I think are both overrated.
I can't believe you think Snake Eater is overrated.
Hey, I told you it's the best one after 1.
I've not played 1 to know.
Oh, I think it's the best Metal Gear Solid game. Just a take that I hear no one else saying.
No. No. In fact, also the take Snake Eater is overrated is also not a thing that I hear often at all, actually.
I'm not saying it's bad.
No, I know.
I'm saying it's good to great.
I know, but I don't know anyone that says it's overrated. I think everyone says like it's sort of sufficiently rated that it's like kind of a masterpiece.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, I honestly don't know with this one.
I think
if I were to make the case, I think I would say Kingdom Hearts based on how just this is just a pure industry take at this point of like how much
Really?
it's lasted and landed in the consciousness. Like Metal Gear Solid was such a secret for me, you know? Like I didn't know what that series was until I looked it up. But you couldn't get away from Kingdom Hearts when it was around.
What are you talking about?
Maybe it's just that it was like
I think it was a secret to you, but it's like
maybe it was more that it was like a more mature game. And when it was when there were games being made for it, I was just too young, and so I just disregarded it. But like
Snake Eater's like imported.
no, I know that.
Yeah. But like
I know that. But like I also
industry-
feel like it can like slip through the conversation. Like I feel like
I feel like that's only because Konami in the past like few years has sort of just disappeared until now. Like,
yeah, but even between 4 and 5, they were quiet on this, you know? Like
well, between 4 and 5, it was like, where's 5? But like, you know, Kojima was sort of just like chugging along for a good long while.
yeah. I don't know. I'd give it to Kingdom Hearts 2. It was an absolute behemoth when it came out. You couldn't get away from it.
That's bizarre. I would give it to Snake Eater.
Okay.
I like
This is bizarre.
Yeah.
All right, give it to Snake Eater. I don't like
like
Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't think it's that good.
I know, but like as someone who thinks that both of these games are like perfect versions of themselves, like I think that Snake Eater is a better perfect version of a game.
Okay.
Where it's like I would have no issues recommending that recommending anyone to play that game. Whereas like there's caveats with the Kingdom Hearts.
So many.
Katamari versus Burnout 3 Takedown.
How tricky is this for you, Jeremy?
Not that tricky.
It's Katamari for you?
I think, yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay.
Only because Katamari is simple. Like Katamari is like it is a like a really uniquely executed idea. You know, like there's a lot I remember about Burnout, and there's a lot I don't remember about Burnout. Like there's a lot of like I don't remember like I don't remember what the menus were like. I know that there was an economy in that game, and there was a lot of stuff that maybe like, you know, it was a big budget game like that, and like the actual just races themselves were never nearly as fun as some of the others takedown missions, and I remember some highs and some not as highs in that game.
I think that is a fair call. You know what, Jeremy? Yes, because ultimately, like as much as I love Burnout 3, there were things that did give me some friction along the way that did mean that I never finished it.
Yeah. Yes. I also never finished it.
Playing Revenge was so good because you could crash through cars that were going the same direction as you, and you wouldn't instantly die.
Yes.
So you could go fast safely.
There were moments in Burnout where I'm like, oh, I really thought I deserved that one.
Yep. All right.
Shadow of the
Katamari
Colossus.
Damacy.
Shadow of the Colossus versus Guitar Hero 3.
It's Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero 3 is great.
It's
not, but it's an arcade experience. You know, it's like a VR experience. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like the best Guitar Heroes are like up there with like the best Call of Duties.
Yeah,
like they're really excellent games, but they're not
like Modern Warfare. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare could like get it on like a top 360 games list or a PS3 games list. Like it could slay on a list like that.
It's not Shadow of the Colossus.
It just isn't Shadow of the Colossus. It's not as enduring as Shadow of the Colossus.
I also think Shadow of the Colossus doesn't actually necessarily make it this far in a different variant of this bracket.
I think that's fair.
Snake Eater versus Katamari Damacy. This is a semi-final.
I am unfamiliar enough with Katamari that it's hard for me to really have too much of a snake in this race. But
This is really hard.
This is hard.
This is
There are a
really
lot of great moments in Snake Eater. Like,
there are.
Cutscene wise, I love experiencing the story of Metal Gear Solid. Like, that's
Mhm.
they're so silly, they're so funny. It's like, and especially 3, they go for this like James Bond send up thing.
Yeah.
And it plays really well.
Yeah.
But then you also get some like anime intense, like Neon Genesis Evangelion action towards the end in a Cold War spy movie. You know what I mean? There's mechs in that game.
Yeah, I know, but that's not quite true.
I just meant in terms of like towering behemoths.
You know
Mechanical creatures.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know how big the Evas are in Evangelion?
No, not really.
They're like
skyscraper tall, aren't they?
No, they're like 4 times skyscraper tall.
Oh, okay.
Like they are like skyscrapers up sort of like up to their hips a lot of the time.
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
they're really big.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, man, what the hell? I think that they are both brilliant in fundamentally different ways.
Oh, very fundamentally different.
I think Snake Eater has moments that Katamari doesn't quite. You make your own fun in Katamari that everyone will play it differently. And like in a basic level will come to the same result and you will have the same level of enjoyment and fun. There is no one thing I ever point to Katamari as like this was incredible. It is a baseline great all the way through. Whereas Snake Eater has got some great to like all-timer moments.
Yeah, I'd say it's got some duds in there too.
Like, yeah, like it's not completely perfect all the way through, but I think it's pretty damn close. Like, look, the ladder.
I knew you were going to say it.
like it is now time to play the ladder card.
Yes.
That is like a all-time gaming moment.
It is incredible.
Like,
and it's funny that it's incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just you holding up and climbing a ladder while the theme song echoes in the distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just left to sit with it.
Yeah.
But it does hit good.
Yeah. And it is not easy to know that is going to work, because that could have been lame. That could have been stupid.
Yeah, no, it's a swing.
It's a swing and a hit. Like like that's like a home run moment for that franchise, but also
for games.
Yeah, in a weird way, right?
And it, of course, it has to be said that it lands because the music absolutely rules.
Yeah,
it's such a good Bond. Again, that Bond send up, but also an incredible song in its own right.
Yeah, and it's like the entire game is not a Bond send up because it is more militaristic, and there's like a lot of themes there that it is a more complex story than a Bond story, which is more often than not just like aha, I'm gonna kill everybody. Whereas like there's sort of stuff happening, and I'm not saying that makes it like explicitly better, but it has more going for it than a Bond movie. Like, more needs to land in Snake Eater than what needs to land in a Bond film. The issue is in Bond films is when they don't even get that. You get a movie called Quantum of Solace, and it's just a complete failure.
Yeah.
Look, I'm putting my vote for Snake Eater.
Okay.
Do you have any?
I haven't played Katamari. It's really hard for me to go to bat on this.
All right.
Yeah. Snake Eater's good. This has been a weird bracket.
It's really
I feel like my
weird.
favorites got killed at the front.
Some of them. Because it was like
Final Fantasy X didn't make it out of the gate.
No. Burnout made it quite far. And
yeah. but Lego Star Wars,
But-
Jak 3.
But also, like, look, a lot of these, I think that, like, we could swap a lot of these. Like, for example, if we did God of War 2 over Kingdom Hearts 2, I don't think either of those beat Snake Eater anyway.
True. And that's how these lists roll. Like,
Yeah.
that's how it's meant to work.
Yeah, if you wanted Lego Star Wars over Ratchet and Clank 3, I don't think either of them beat Shadow of the Colossus.
No, I don't think Final Fantasy beats it over Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
Like,
Final Fantasy doesn't beat Shadow of the Colossus.
no, that's what happened.
Yeah. No, because Final Fantasy lost to Guitar. Oh no, sorry, no, never mind. Sorry, that was Guitar Hero 2 that lost. Yeah. Ratchet Gladiator doesn't beat Burnout 3 either.
No, Ratchet Gladiator doesn't beat anything. I've got that. That's part of my problem. I've got a few heart favorites in here, not as many Metacritic favorites.
The battle for third between Katamari and Guitar Hero 3.
This is interesting because they're both franchises that did so well for a time and then kind of evaporated after a while.
Yeah.
But they still exist. People still know what they are, but like it's been a while.
But like people still want them is the thing. Like, you know, we've got Clone Hero because they can't afford to make a new Guitar Hero. We're getting remakes of Katamari because there's still a demand for literally Katamari.
Just something.
Yeah. This could go either way for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
I haven't played Katamari. Katamari is... I don't know that Katamari had a moment like Guitar Hero. You know what I mean? Guitar Hero was phenomenal, as in literally a phenomena for a time. In the same way the Wii was, in the same way the Pokemon Go was.
Yes. Yeah. And Guitar Hero 3 was sort of a culmination of those, of like, you know, that peripheral thing, right? Like 1 and 2 were popular and 3 like made it across a generation of platforms, partly because it came out at the right time, but it also sold basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Katamari,
and not that sales and popularity it's not the thing that gets you here or makes the decision on the list, but it is a factor.
Yeah. And Katamari, while popular with those who have played it, it is a bit more of a niche game.
Yeah.
In the same vein as maybe Rez. Like it's a bit more popular than Rez, but like, you know, maybe in the same vein as Flower on the PS3.
Yeah. Like
it's got that, like it's got its audience, which is a popular enough audience that they're still making them. But it's not like that they are not headline games. Whereas Guitar Hero could be a headline.
Yeah.
I'm happy to give it to a Guitar Hero.
Okay.
Right.
Guitar Hero 3 for 3?
3 for 3.
I keep looking at the stream and going like, Jeremy, why aren't you updating it? But I'm just a few seconds behind on Twitch.
Shadow of the Colossus versus Snake Eater for number 1. I actually think this kind of tracks.
What, that this is the final matchup? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not out of left field.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't not make sense. It makes sense, rather, is how you say that.
It doesn't not make sense. Yeah, yes.
I have my vote.
What's yours?
Shadow. There are many parts of Snake Eater that are forgettable. I found when I was playing it that there were many in a sort of a hangover from 2 in a way that like the mechanics, I just didn't enjoy the gameplay of Snake Eater as much as I wanted to.
Yeah,
a lot of the times. I really didn't enjoy 2s, and 3 was like, it was okay and I got through it, but I didn't feel like it was immaculate. Not once.
Right.
I always felt like I was almost fighting against them and I was just looking forward to getting through it to see the next cool cutscene and the story development.
I did have those moments.
Shadow just is what it is and it does it so well.
I did have those moments in Snake Eater where I was doing exactly what I wanted at the right time in the right order. And when it clicked, it was like seeing the Matrix. It was like suddenly everything fell in its spot. The puzzle was complete and I was just doing the game and it felt awesome. And the final fight as well.
a lot of the final fights,
Yeah.
like honestly, maybe the entire final third of the game, like it's a cinematic masterpiece in terms of storytelling, and like action sequences, like set piece.
And I also loved a lot of the stealth mechanics of changing my clothes depending on the environment that I was in. I loved a lot of the villains. I thought that they were really cool. Like they were all like they're all really strange villains. They are James Bond villains, but like cranked up a bit.
Like anime James Bond villains.
Yeah. It's not Shadow of the Colossus.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And it also has those moments of just like, why are you giving me this button prompt to like pervert Eva as she's getting undressed? I don't need that. Why is that in all of these games, Kojima? Stop it.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah, like Shadow of the Colossus kind of feels like a story that is actually thousands of years old.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a very basic, like Arthurian tale,
like a legend.
Yeah. I mean, like it kind of is. Like it's based on like old stories, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
Like but not one to one.
Inspired by.
Yeah. And like the shot that is like ingrained in maybe everyone's mind of that long bridge.
The bridge
that goes all the way across the top half of the map, and it's got that very specific like archway. Like stilts into this bizarre castle in the middle, temple castle thing that has got the pool with the light. And just like the loop of like you hold out your sword, the light points you in the direction you go, you hop on your horse, you get there, you defeat the Colossus, and then you're back again. You do it enough.
I wish I could have played that game having known nearly nothing about it. I think that's the thing keeping me from it, is that the game was one where I heard, oh, it's incredible. It's like only boss fights. And like, what game does that? That's amazing. It's like, oh, okay, only boss fights. Okay. It's like, oh, you got to climb on them and do the weak point. It's like, oh, okay, so you just find the bosses and okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and it's like you got to find them each time. It's like, oh, okay, like you point the like hearing all of that and synthesizing it and like seeing it at school and playing 20 minutes here and then like, oh, seeing the like all of that gradual exposure to and exposure to other people's opinions and watching a playthrough or like the first hour of it on YouTube at some point, like all of that gradual exposure to it like that has done it for me no favors.
Yeah, which is it, and it's like, and that's a shame, and also not really the fault of the game as well.
Oh no!
Yeah. And I know that's not what you're saying, but it's a shame that has become what the game is in contemporary conversation.
Yeah, like for so many people, right? Yeah.
Because I also think that's sort of like a little bit of a disservice to what the game really does, because like it mechanically, yeah, like that's it. But like it's
the journey, right? It's the exploration. Yeah, it's the discovery.
It's so much more mechanically. It's so much more than just its mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, like discovering it for the first time, not knowing, playing it on the PS2 and not knowing what the game is and buying it just because the art on the front, getting to a Colossus and going like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And then pointing my sword at it, going like, oh, there's a weak point on it. I'm assuming I stab it, and firing arrows on it, going, well, that's not doing anything. And slowly making my way up this walking behemoth and then slowly taking it out was like, oh my God, like this is like a thing. This is not like a game that I've played before.
I think there's nearly no way I could have played this game when it came out and I would have enjoyed it. I don't think I would have enjoyed how open it is and how there's not that much to do between things. That sort of just enjoy the world, experience it as it is. I don't think I would have really come to grips with. I wish I could have experienced this game in 2005 when I was 20.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I've told this on the podcast before, but the very first time I played it, where like my dad and I played like 3.5 hours of the game without finding a single Colossus because we didn't know where to go.
Yeah,
and even
how did you play for that long?
We went.
What kept you in?
The world was like it was also one of the most beautiful games to have come out at that point. Like there was such a strong direction. It was the most accurate and realistic animated horse until
That's right.
until
right.
basically Red Dead.
Yeah, it still looks good on PS2.
It still looks good now, right? The music was incredible. The structures and the art and the trees and the light and the wind and just like but also like just the idea of like an empty world was also so fundamentally different to every game that we had played up until that point. Like there was no additional enemies to bump into and take out and you know, learn the combat controls, right? Like that simply didn't exist to us. And you know, we weren't like, we're also at a point that like neither of us are actually really that tactile with the controller anyway. But yeah, there was like a thing where like the world had just captivated us, and it was one of those really intense moments of like, oh, like we're exploring this. We're the first people to have been here. Like that was what it felt like. Especially because we also played it, you know, partially incorrectly, that there wasn't even a light guiding us. We just got lost.
Yeah. That would be a cool way to find your first Colossus.
I mean,
stumble upon it.
Well, kind of like the first Colossus is also like really overt in the middle at the front, and it gives you a brief tutorial on as you get up
like
there.
Climbing.
Yeah. And so as we got close, like a cutscene played and showed us where to go and stuff. And so at that point, that was when we actually knew where to go.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were playing the game differently to how the game intended us to play. But the game allowed that and still worked even when we were completely wrong, in a positive way.
Yeah. I just don't think I could have stuck with it for that long without direction. You know what I mean? Like if I got that lost in that world, I probably just would have put it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I do think it wins over Sneak Eater.
There it is.
What a killer list. And like that was hard from the jump.
And like there's a lot of games that we haven't really played enough to include that could have won as well. Like
like Buddy was in the chat asking whether Black made it into the list, and it didn't. I know friends of mine though that played that and really, really loved it.
And like Grand Theft Auto 3 is another one.
Yeah, like or San Andreas.
Yes, yeah. Like we just didn't really play that game that much.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so much good on that system. Like Aragon the movie, the game, like Crash to Insanity, Final Fantasy X-2. Like it's just like the hits keep coming. You know, they don't stop.
Shrek 2, as Charlie said on Twitter. That game's good. That game's really fucking good.
It is. It is flawed in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, like it's a bit dinky.
Yeah.
It's fucking good.
Classic us. We're going forever. Jeremy, we're at the length of a full episode. Do we want to talk about our stuff?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, all right, cool. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing in the second or the third or fourth quarter of the show.
In the third half.
Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. I realized I couldn't see the visual transition for this one in time either, but I just gave it
you nailed
the right
it.
amount of timing.
You actually nailed it. I wouldn't have known.
Well, you gave me the countdown, and I was just like, all right, I know that transition is like, and
yeah, because
I had to feel it. I had to feel it in my bones.
For those who are listening to the edited version of this, which is not that edited, but like we don't play the break music when we come back from a break, because we only need it once, and so we do it to fade out. And so there was no way Kerry could have known, and yet
not audioly,
and yet he nailed it.
Thank you. I'm glad I dove in at the right time. It's a interesting sort of what we've been playing this week. I'm finally able to talk about Diablo IV, which is very funny because I haven't played the game in 10 days.
Yeah.
So I got access to the reviewers build for Diablo IV to make some guide videos for it for IGN. And when it was we had access to the game for about 10 days, maybe a little less, in a separate review build, maybe separate servers, who knows. with like dedicated like early access accounts. And then the Friday before the Ultimate Edition, 2 Fridays ago, a week before the Ultimate Edition early access, public access basically, was made available, the servers were shut down. So we couldn't play on those accounts anymore, which basically meant all of our character progress was gone too. So we were in a weird spot where we had to like just kind of play something, but it was sort of like a research finding thing of just like play what you can, write down what you can. So for me, it was all about getting all the footage I needed for the videos that I would then make in the in-between week where I couldn't capture any footage. And I also couldn't publish the videos because there were still embargoes. So it was like, get everything you need in this week and then put it all together in this week. So I've had a very interesting time with Diablo. And people listening will remember that I did play it in March when they had their very first betas, their duo, where there was like a closed beta one weekend and the following weekend they had an open beta. Those were the first betas before they had like another 18 after that in the intervening weeks and months. And I didn't really love it back then. I didn't love the beta. And it was also funny because like it was also clear to me how much I had not played Diablo before through that experience. Like, oh wow, this game's dark. It's like, yeah, it turns out this is what Diablo is.
Yeah.
Turns out these games are rated like R and
it made
for
R.
a reason.
Yeah.
Like, because they're fucking gnarly, man.
Yeah. They are
funny.
evil games.
Yeah, exactly. And they're games about evil and being all up in it. It's funny though, when the reviews went live, I remember I think it was Matt from Player 2 was saying, man, I didn't enjoy this game as much because it was so like downbeat like the whole time. Like it was so miserable. I'm like, oh yeah, isn't it just such a fucking miserable game? No one's here to have fun in this world. Like I've never laughed playing Diablo 4, like not once.
I remember reading that and you agreeing and me going like, huh? It's like watching Deer Hunter and go like, I didn't smile at all. I'm like, yeah.
It feels like it's at such odds with the gameplay loop though, because the gameplay loop's so like you could have this loop in a non-depressing world and it would still play. Like it feels like the mechanic is completely the mechanics are completely detached from the setting and style.
Right.
I guess that's where you get things like Torchlight, right? But so anyway, that's a very long-winded way of me saying I enjoyed playing the full release of the game much better than I did the beta release. I've been getting full access to a skill tree, so getting more than 25 skill points or whatever, and being in more than one area, that really helps. Playing the full game helps.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't play the betas over and over and over again in that one area, just ad nauseum. I managed to make a really fun sorcerer build. I think I had fun with it. I used the one close range ability, which was an electric close range ability, and like some ricochet attacks and this like lightning thing that did its own thing. And then because I was close range, I also had some close range like frost abilities that like froze enemies nearby, and I could take them out with my close range thing. And it was just really fun. The loop's really good. It's real solid. It runs really well. It looks fairly decent. It kind of looks like a PS4 game. It kind of looks like a last gen game in a lot of places.
Yeah, but those cinematics though.
Yeah, but they don't use them that much because you create your own character. Like you are so much more frequently getting in-game cinematics and cutscenes rather than actual Blizzard cutscenes.
Right. Like
the only Blizzard cutscenes I've seen in the game were ones that they've already released as trailers.
Right. Okay.
They're the only ones I've seen. And they're amazing. Like they're incredible. Like the one that starts the game is the one that they announced the game with back in like 2019. And it tells it's such a good piece of storytelling in that like 9 minutes. It's like a 3-act like little 9-minute movie. It's great. But yeah, you just don't see it that often. I got halfway through the campaign over leveled as hell. um, uh, and yeah, didn't see another cinematic once.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's interesting. I'm playing more of it for work. After all this stuff came out about Bobby Kotick this last week, sort of reignited my man, fuck Activision Blizzard flame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which hadn't really gone away, but like, I don't know. It's easy to be, I guess, a bit beguiled by by time. Let time sort of help you forget why things are awful.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And yeah, I wouldn't say for me that this game is worth, ignoring the morality of the situation.
Sure.
It's a good one to get on sale, I reckon. But it is cool seeing this whole like community develop around it, and it's cool to be reminded about what Diablo used to mean in the industry, why that name was important, seeing why it was, because this is, by all accounts, this is like a traditional Diablo made new. It doesn't really blow the doors off in terms of innovation. It sort of catches up to its competitors and meets the expectations to a T, which is fine. That's not a bad way to make a game.
It almost feels like a reminder. They're like, yeah, like we can, like Diablo's still here.
Yeah, and this is what Diablo is. This isn't 3, it's this.
Yeah.
And maybe, they're hoping to build from it and make it more impressive with they've got a whole boatload of seasonal content to work with this game that they're working on. It's going to be more of a live service game than ever before. Like it has to be played online, for example. So yeah, it's been an interesting time with it. I find the story is quite it's okay. It's quite interesting in a lot of ways. They've kept it quite grounded in terms of it's focused on a lot of individuals, or not even that many individuals, but a small group of individuals that you meet and sort of bounce between. Rather than it being about gigantic like organizations or sides of a war, although I think it does get to that. It is more about, what do the people of this area need? This leader once helped seal this evil that Lilith is now trying to find. She's going after the people who sealed that evil to find out what she can about them. You got to get there before she does, that kind of thing. And keeping it on that sort of like, she's walking around Sanctuary, Lilith, the evil demon, and you have to sort of catch up to her as she's walking. It's not about her teleporting and burning a whole village to the ground, and then you go there, and it's about into hell and find the thing, and then the portal collapses the last minute. It's not that bombastic, which I really appreciate. It helps keep the setting feel like it could happen in a way. And it's in the same way where it's the same way they treat their lore and their world with their magic, right? Where magic is a matter of fact in this world. It is not something like in Game of Thrones where it's like, it's a mystery, or magic faded, but now the dragons are back. It's coming back, but we don't know how, and it's very like alluded to and mysterious, and maybe it's real, maybe it's not. This is like, no, like the Holy Church has holy magic, and it just does, and it is like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that the church are any less like assholes,
Yes.
And then like sorcerers have magic and they just use magic. And it's like, that means they're as strong as the barbarians who use incredible like brawling skills and arsenals of weapons and all of that. So it's cool being in that world that treats itself seriously, I guess, in a different way to mature fantasy that I've seen in recent years.
Yeah, right. How's the looting?
Look, the looting's okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was a critique that someone really nailed for me that I didn't truly understand because of my lack of understanding of the genre and the series. But it's pretty rare for you to pick something up and it to be worth considering.
Okay.
You will very frequently find something, pick it up, it's not as good, or it's barely on par, but doesn't give you the right bonus. And so you can go for hours without changing one of your types of gear. Now, you've got like 8 types of gear. You got your weapon and your rings and your amulets and your headpiece and your arms and your torso and your boots and all of that. So like you do upgrade sort of something once every 20 or 30 minutes usually. But like that's kind of slow. while in the grind, I would kind of wish that they gave you smaller increments more often,
Right.
rather than like the occasional one that is just barely at your level, and then the rest are like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 levels below. Like there was one boss that I got hard stuck on, and like I was asking people for help, and I was like, oh, I'm not at that level, I can't help. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? Because I was having a fine time until then, and I was over leveled for this. And the level scaling brings it up to you, so I knew I wasn't like coming at this too early. This was balanced to be like just a normal fight, like I had been doing the last dozens of hours. And what ended up being the problem was my gear was too weak. But I'd been looting, I'd been doing side stuff, I'd been picking up everything, selling everything. And so I had to buy something that was better in the end, because it turns out my chest piece, even although I hadn't found something that did me any better along the way, it was 10 levels below my level. It was a level 35 and I was 45. And there was nothing I could do about that prior in the natural looting scheme of things. There was nothing. I was like, if only I'd hung on to that piece of gear. I was like, I haven't had anything better than this. And now I'm being hard stuck by the game because you just didn't give me anything better. So that was frustrating. I upgraded my chest piece and I beat that boss in like 2 more fights, and I've been stuck on it for an hour.
Yeah, right. Okay. How strange.
Yeah. And on the one hand, it's like that sort of validates the need to go to the vendors.
Sure.
In one way, and spend a bit of my money during the course of the game. That's cool.
But is that not invalidating the desire to loot?
It does a bit. I mean, you pick everything up anyway because there's no penalty and you just sell it immediately.
Yeah.
But it does mean that you start very quickly glancing, and it's a bit of that Destiny problem too, of like, why would I bother investing in anything now when I'm like, this is a level 35 piece of gear and I'm going to get to level 50.
Yeah.
And that's going to be when I start unlocking the like unique items and the legendaries. And this is just a rare or like a good blue. Like, why would I bother? There's literally no point in me sticking with this.
Yeah.
So it's just the gear mill. And I didn't get far enough. I didn't get to the end game, and I didn't get to the like level 50 like soft cap to start experiencing that intense level grinding or inventory build crafting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all that I could speak to really on that. But in terms of the leveling grind, it's fine.
Okay.
The loot's there. You're always picking something up, but a lot of the time it's not really useful.
Right.
Just a shame. I don't really know how they balance that without overpowering you.
Yeah, the moment the words buildcraft gets spoken to me, part of my soul goes to sleep.
It's funny because I've only gotten into that in Destiny this year, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, maximize the amount of strand damage I'm doing when I throw a tangle and shoot the thing with the damage and the green stuff and the blah. This game really lets you do that easily in terms of your skills. It does not punish you for trying to focus on stuff, and it makes it quite easy.
Right.
Because you get like a keyword search feature where you open up this tab and it shows you every keyword that this skill tree has.
Fuck.
Like unstoppable, bleed, lightning skill, shock, frost.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. And you select it, and it highlights all of the skills in the tree that have that keyword. And then you can go one further and select skills that have both keywords at once. And you can select ones that are common. And then it's like, oh, this foundational ability that I have works well with critical strikes to generate this other thing. I'm going to increase this other thing I do, and whenever I can, I'll get critical strikes going on my main character. And you can kind of, it helps you refine it. Like you can easily refund 1 or 2 skill points without too much trouble. Like it isn't free, but it's not much money. And then you can twist and tailor and tweak slowly and meticulously as you go through, and just be like, I tried that, I didn't love that, let me go back and I'll do this instead. So you're never punished for giving things a go, and you're never far away from making something better.
Right. Okay.
I'd say it's the most accessible way to build craft or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a funny game.
Yeah. Are you? Would you play it not if you were working?
I almost booted it up this weekend. I know I'm going to be playing it like all week, so that was kind of the one thing keeping me away from it. Like I hadn't played Zelda all week, so I was like, no, I'll play Zelda this weekend.
Sure.
But I almost booted it up. I was very close to getting in there. Honestly, if I hadn't lost my character progress, I probably would have been in there this weekend.
Yeah, right.
But I did.
Yes.
So I wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a tricky one. Like, whatever your stance is on Activision Blizzard, I don't think this should sway it in any way. I don't think it is. The game should never. I remember I felt bad about Naughty Dog going into The Last of Us Part 2, right?
Yeah. And
then I was like, oh, but I just want to play a new Naughty Dog game. I just want to. And so I bought it. And then I was let down by it. And I was like, man, I compromised on my like moral position. I gave them the price of a full price game. I supported them even though it was clear they really mishandled their staff during the making of this game. And then I didn't even enjoy it anyway. What was the point? So that was kind of my lesson at the end of the day, to sort of like, if you've got that sort of that battle in you between like the morality and the enjoyment and all of that, it's kind of probably never worth it. Not to me. And this is a similar boat. If I wasn't working on it, I wouldn't buy it, basically. For Diablo diehards who just have to play it, or you don't care about the stuff, which you should, but whatever. Like, it's okay. Like it's like, it's a decent game, and people will play it and get much more out of it than I do. And people who love the genre and love the series will really appreciate it. But yeah, it's a solid 9. You know what I mean? It almost sits in, it's like in like a Spider-Man, like Marvel Spider-Man kind of way, where it's like, man, this game's solid, rock solid, absolutely rock solid. But I'll probably forget about it by the end of the year.
Yeah,
right. Personally,
it's not going to be a Game of the Year contender for you.
No, probably not. Maybe an honorable mention.
It's funny you're saying it's a 9, and then like it's not going to be a Game of the Year contender.
But that's specifically what I meant by Spider-Man. I mean, I love Spider-Man, but like, and a lot of people really like Spider-Man, but whenever it comes out, it's always the like 4th or 5th pick in people's lists.
Yeah.
Down the list. It's like, yeah, what a great open world. This got a bit tired, or like, oh, I wish this had gone a bit far. Oh, the MJ sections. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that for me, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my Diablo. I've been sitting on that for weeks. But Jeremy, tell me about Humanity. Did this come out as the same day as Tears of the Kingdom, or was like that next week or something?
I think it was a little bit earlier. Only a little bit.
Yeah, but it's been out for a few weeks now.
Yeah, it had been on my list of like, I really got to get to this, really got to get to this, really got to get to this. Stuff keeps coming up. I don't play my PlayStation. Stuff keeps coming up. I was like, okay, I've got some time. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play Humanity. For those who don't know, Humanity is made by Enhance, the studio behind the Tetris Effect. And
they're behind the effect.
Yes. And from the creative director of Rez, Humanity is a puzzle game where you are a little dog, which is funny.
Are you divine? Are you a divine dog?
No. So there is divinity. There are divine beings in this game.
Okay.
In the form of orbs that speak to you, and you are just you are more of a shepherd. You are there to guide the people.
Okay.
And you do so by barking. you are a little Shiba Inu. And the way the game works is that all the levels are grid based, but it's 3D grid based, and you are not locked to the grid. And neither is like it's like a loose grid where like swarms of people will come out of the door endlessly, and your job is to get them to the light.
Yeah,
just somewhere else in the level, and you direct them by leaving markers on the ground, which will point them in a different direction, or tell them to jump, or do a long jump, or like just give them various directions, and then you guide them around this grid to where there are light portals. Sometimes there are multiple doors which will come out of, and that's basically it. That is the fundamental way to describe it. It's like a little bit of Lemmings in that regard, but instead of individual lemmings, it is a stream of lemmings constantly.
It's time we got a new Lemmings game.
Yeah. The humans dying is not a punishment at all. It is part of the game, and it is your job to eventually lead the stream of people to the end. There are golden people that are like twice as tall as regular people around the map. They are your bonus objectives.
Right.
If they die, they don't come back, and so you got to restart the level. And it's a puzzle game. You sort of got to find the right order. It's not always about finding the right order that is a single point that you can set it to go and it goes, because you build the puzzle live. So the people are just streaming out constantly, and then you are building the puzzle around them. But sometimes you can do things that can then break the level and you have to restart. However, if you restart the level, there are two options for you. You can restart the level with or without your markers. So if you've built this incredible labyrinth and then you've accidentally fucked up at the end and you've knocked a block off that you meant to push in a certain direction, but you pushed it off the map by mistake, you can restart the level and it'll start from the beginning and all your markers will stay there and you can adjust it as it's happening.
Man, that's so good.
It is great. It is maybe the smartest thing this game does, because it is so important to be able to make mistakes without losing your progress.
Because I could already see how frustrating that would be otherwise.
Totally.
Like, I just did one thing and now I got to do that all again.
Yeah. That basically does not exist in this game.
That's so good.
Yes. This game is very funny.
Good.
But it is not jokes. It is just, I have a constant stream of people rushing out of this door, and the people are low poly, and they're not like they have arms and legs, but they don't have hands or fingers.
And they're like singular colors, right?
They've got they've got like a colored shirt and a different colored pants, and then colored skin and hair.
Yeah.
But you can also there's also cosmetics you can put on them. So you can give them all hats. Or you can make them all dress up like they're from the 70s.
Right.
Or you can give them like lightsabers. It's really funny.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah. The pure, like it kind of reminds you of Katamari in a hilarious way, that like there's like these low poly people and they're just sort of like around, but like there are so many people on screen at any given moment, because you can labyrinth them around to do a maze and you just get more and more people, and then you can loop them back into the maze and they merge. And so then suddenly the line of people is twice as big if it's looped around, and then 3 times as big. And they get too big to fit in the singular lanes that they start to make a mess. And they start to maybe fall off the side of the map, or they fall into another lane by mistake and maybe accidentally take a route that
sounds harrowing if you think about it too hard.
Kinda. It's hilarious. It is really funny and really silly, but the actual core structure of the game, the puzzles, they're all actually really quite elegant.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of really like smart puzzle design that happens in this game. It's not blowing my socks off as like, oh my god, these are the most like intelligent puzzles I've ever seen in a game, but the structure of it is lending itself to puzzles that are fun enough to find the solution to, that I am just playing the next one and then playing the next one and trying to get as many of the gold people as I can. And then when you finish, like the puzzles sort of there's like sort of a kind of a tree that goes in and out, as sort of like a world, like Mario World. And then you get back to there's like a hub world, which has got everybody you've saved.
Wow.
And so this hub world just gets exponentially larger and larger as you finish more and more levels, where there's just more and more people that you've sent to the light. And you've got these omnipotent various, they're called cores, these spheres, of different colors and different personalities. And they all like sort of mean different things to humanity. The first one was very omnipotent. The second one, it was more about like, yeah, we're going to talk about the soul, but like, I'm not a godly character. I'm just someone who knows about soul. And they joke about, the blue core still going on about, you know, omnipotence and pretending like playing God with his voice again. Like they all sort of are characters in this regard, but there's only ever one at a time.
Sounds like the AI cores in Portal.
Kinda. It's a little bit like that. But there's just a really base level funny interestingness to this game because it is so singular focused in its idea of like you will move people around and you will not run out of people and they will die, but you will eventually get them to the end.
Yep.
And like they talk to you like, oh yeah, like they'll die and their death is your and they're like, yeah, but their death is their sacrifice to making it better for humanity in a hilarious way. And like it's not just falling off the edge of the map. It's if they fall from 2 blocks, if they fall from any more than 2 blocks high, they just hit the ground and die.
Oh my God.
So you got to try and find like there's like float abilities that they can then to like slowly land, or like there's fans.
Can other bodies pile up to the point that they break the fall?
No. They hit the ground, then they disappear into white.
That's a bit less harrowing.
Yeah,
it's a bit less like
it's not gory, and it's not
macabre.
No, not at all. But it is funny that like for the first little bit you can't help but try and solve the puzzle faster than the people are moving,
right?
Because you don't want them to die.
Yeah.
And then you get a few levels in, and it's like, oh fuck it, whatever. Like I'll send them all off the side.
Some of you may die.
Yeah, like I'll send you all off the side of the map until I figure out where this puzzle's gonna go.
Yeah, totally.
There's also some interesting little platforming that you have to do because you physically move around the map. As a dog that can jump like 3 blocks high, which is quite high. But occasionally you'll get to a part that's like 4 blocks high, but there'll be like a grid on the side of the wall that you can't reach over, which players can climb up. And so you have to wait for the players to reach them and climb up them. And then your secondary jump is not a double jump, but you then basically possess one of the players, or one of the little people, and like you don't control them; they are just still part of the mass. But you just like basically like borrow them. Yeah, you hitchhike to the top of where they're going, and then you hop off, and then you can walk around again, which is like just like you're
so instead of like. It's kind of like Cappy in Odyssey. Is like you become, except without the control. Like you become that person, and you can just jump out of that person.
Yeah. But like I've not had to use it to reach a height that I haven't been able to reach. But oftentimes it is faster if you need to get up there, and you can't make it just to follow a human up. Everything is very ethereal. There's no environments really. It's all just like gray cement blocks in an undefined world. There are like grass blocks that also have like the ability to stop you from pushing blocks through it because it's like grass and it's like harder to push. And there are trees which basically just obstacles that you can't place like an object on. Like you can't like tell anyone to change direction when they're on a tree. So if there's a tree and that's the only place that like that there's no, so you can't place, for example, commands on conveyor belts, and all the conveyor belts lead to a tree. They're just going to go through that tree. You can't tell them to change at that tree, which is interesting. So there's a lot of different ways that they give and take away the ability to guide the humans.
Yeah, it's funny because when I see the game in terms of like I watched a preview for it and like trailers, it does look like it could be like good puzzle fun, but like mechanically it also looks quite simple. You know, like grid-based puzzle where it's just direct the stream. You put a right arrow here and a jump arrow here and a left arrow here.
Yeah. There are multiple times where I'm like, okay, well, if that goes there and that goes there, then I must have to do something around here. And you sort of just play around in that space until something works better than something else. And so you start to redo that. And then you realize that like there was a really intelligent level that I did last night in the second world where you have to, there are 2 doors and there are 2 points at the end. So you have to get both of these groups over to the end goal. And if you do one or not the other, you don't pass. You got to get both of them. And one of them I could sort of kind of automate, where I can get them to, I can set up a bunch of commands and they'll do a bunch of stuff, and that's great. And they will get to the end on their own. The other one, I actually had to like change halfway through. So I got them to do a few commands, but then I didn't actually know how to get them to do the other commands without actually overriding my own work and then manually changing their route halfway through, which is like, it feels like it's wrong in my mind, but it's not, because I finished the level.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. That was the solution. But because you can work the solution to be a completely, I can just hit go and they will do it. Or you can do the solution where like I am basically manually shepherding all these humans all the way to the end.
Babysit. And
that's also a totally fine solution. It's a fascinating game.
How much do you reckon you've played?
Not very long, maybe 3.5 hours. Okay. My understanding is that the game is about 10-ish, 12 hours to get all the way through. There was a de facto boss fight, which I found that was interesting, where there was like, again, there was no failure because the levels don't have a failure state. The levels sometimes have a state where it's like, hey, like it'll tell you, like, hey, you've pushed a block off that will prevent you from finishing the level. You should restart.
Right.
You can continue on, but like you will not be able to finish the level. So it will tell you when that happens, which is good. But there was the first boss fight, for example, is like the first core, where it sent out a bunch of like smaller blue spheres around the map, and you had to push a block on top of those blue spheres and crush it. And you had to do that 4 times in a single level. And there were sort of 4 little zones on this one level that was all connected, but they worked independently of each other, which is an interesting way to do like a different objective that is not just tell them to like get the people to the end goal. Totally. You got them to actually act on a thing. And then you get more abilities, which is like, here's an ability that if you place it here, they will, every second person will go left instead of right, which is another new way to sort of do that. And so you sort of build up chains and stuff, and it's really cool. It's a really cool.
It sounds
game.
Good.
I don't know if I'll get all the way to the end, because if I get really stuck, like I'm dumb. But there's a lot in there that is really, really silly, funny. Just like it's just the visual of just an infinite amount of people walking into a wall is so funny, but also the funniest thing is inadvertently doing something correct and then like without realizing, because the people will just continue to follow your commands, accidentally fuck everything up. One of them was like, there's these blocks that have got fans on the side of it, and so it'll push like whoever walks in front of it, and there was a way to sort of wrap around and push one of the fans all the way out of the way. But what I didn't realize is that on my way of pushing it out of the way, I pushed it into the queue from about like 13 seconds ago, and then broke. And then at that point, I had pushed it to the point where I'd run out of people to continue pushing this block. And my current stream was just getting blown off the side of the edge. And I'm like, I've made a mistake here, which is very funny.
Yep.
But you can also like wrap the queues back around into each other so you can cross them through and they will just continue to go. That's cool. Which is really great. There is one thing that I wish the game does, which it doesn't, which is a very minor thing, but if you move like the dog has got like collision against the players, and the dog can also move quite fast, and so you can run into the humans, and they will just get bumped like sort of into other lanes or out of the way, which is it's never you can never do it enough to actually interrupt anything. But what I really wanted the camera to have collision as well. I kind of wanted that physicality, because the camera can get right down into the zone, like into where the players are, and like it clips through them when I kind of actually really wanted it to not.
Right.
Just like it would have been such a minor thing, but I think it would have been a really cool little addition of like, oh yeah, like you know, these are real humans as opposed to the little animated guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's good fun. It was on PlayStation Plus. It's a fucking funny time. They make cool games.
They do make cool games. I like that. I like they've got a vibe and they're finding different ways to keep it going.
Totally.
Sort of like Housemarque was doing before they gave up on their vibe.
Yeah, Humanity is really fun. It's a really elegant puzzler, which has just got such a funny concept. But it doesn't lean into it. Like, it's not a joke. Like, no one's like, like all these idiots, send them off the edge. Why don't you? Their death means something. It's like it's very like not deterministic, but there's a level of like, oh yeah, like this is what humanity's about. And all of that is kind of tongue in cheek, but they never realize that it's tongue in cheek. So it's jokes are quite good, and also like, you know, you're a Shiba Inu dog, like that's silly.
Yep.
Very Japanese.
Yeah, it seems fun. I do want to get to it. I have no idea when. I can't remember the last puzzle game I played. Like maybe it was Superliminal I played for an evening one time.
Yeah. It depends, you know, like
I played a puzzle game.
Yeah. Like Outer Wilds is a puzzle game, but it depends if you count that in that. Like traditional puzzle game, yeah. Like it'll be the last traditional puzzle game you played was probably Maquette.
No, I played Superliminal since then.
Oh, okay, right.
Maquette was 2 years ago now.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't seem like it, but it was that long ago, which is weird.
Yeah, right.
Because that was near the new console launch, I think. Well, everyone, that's it for us. Let me just quickly duck into one of our other documents here. I just got to see what we've got lined up for next week. So next week is likely to be our check-in for the various conferences. Will we be done with all the conferences by next week, Jeremy?
Yeah, next week might be more of a, depending on how the other conferences go, it might be more of an Xbox show.
Yeah.
We'll see how they go.
Game Fest in a few days, and then there's Xbox, but I think will be before Ubisoft.
I don't remember.
No, not off the top of my head. I'm guessing.
Because the Xbox showcase is June 13, which is actually June 14 for us. So that's actually not even between now and next week. That's like the week after.
Oh my God. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's like next Wednesday for us.
It's Wednesday week for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
guess it'll just be Summer Game Fest if anything happens.
Yeah, if anything happens, which it probably will, but like we'll see how we go. You'll find out next episode.
Yeah, when we find out. It may be the subscription service SmackDown otherwise, but until then, have a good week, everyone. Enjoy the lead up to E3 is dead. Yeah, let us know what you've been playing. If you wanted to do that, you can follow us on our socials at MiniMapAU. We're also on Twitter individually as well. Jeremy, where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Obi1Jez.
You can follow me on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. Slowly feeling like it might be time to leave that website. It's getting close. You know what I mean?
No,
you're too deep. You're too in it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Fucking Google sucks. Google has given me just the worst answer. The Xbox showcase is June 11th, which is
right.
Which is the 12th for us, which is a Monday.
Right. So it should be it. So it'll be done by next week.
It'll be it'll be the morning of the day that we record the podcast. When I Google Xbox showcase, it tells me a clip out from a Games Hub article, which says
from like a year ago or
no. It's about this showcase, but it says the shows will also be followed by the annual Xbox Showcase Extended, which will air on June 13th. So it's given me just the wrong answer from a correct article.
Yep.
Do you know how much Google sucks now? Google has gotten so terrible as a search engine. It simply just gives you the wrong results over and over and over again, I found.
Right.
It is a fucking nightmare to get any information out of that fucking hellscape.
I can't say I've had that experience, but I'm glad.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to find us on Google, you could search for Minimap, or you could just go straight to the website, minimap.com.au, for absolutely everything else Minimap related, including the Minidisc podcast, the latest article we published on the site. You could also find last week's episode where we spoke about the PlayStation Showcase, which was an excellent episode with Paul James from Player 2. That was great. For those of you that are live with us on Twitch, stick around. We're about to start the post-show. For those of you listening later, first off, thank you for sticking with us this whole way. Second off, make sure to give us those oh-so-tasty 5-star ratings. It helps out a lot. And consider joining us next week if you can. It's a great time. Lastly, if you were able to, if you would like to, you can support us over on Patreon to help keep the mics and lights on. You could do that by heading on over to patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 Australian dues, you get 24 hours of early access to this episode, every other episode of the MiniMapCast on Tuesdays when it goes live there. You can get the recordings of the post shows. You can get some other things we're cooking up all over there, all while helping us out. That's going to do it for us, everyone. Stay safe, play some games. The end. Have a good week. Goodbye.